Welcome back. So now we have 4 case studies, and I'm very happy that I can introduce someone who's been supporting everything that we're doing here at HR Week, but also everything we're doing in HR world. So now we're being joined by Ivan Stefanović. Ivan has more than 15 huge years of experience in the areas of both organizational design and changes and business process design, improvement, strategic development, and performance management. His work spans over different industries, from banking to telco to oil and gas. And besides the profit sector, he also contributes to nonprofit sectors as well. And he's a certified Lean Sigma, Six Sigma belt, black belt, certified business architect, certified performance management professional, and change management practitioner. This is a very long introduction, so sorry if I forgot anything. Ivan, welcome. Thank you again for participating here at HR Week and being such a supporter of everything that we're doing.
Thank you, Masha. Thank you for this wonderful introduction. It's always a pleasure to support and work alongside with you guys on during the HR weeks and all the other events that you are making. So
Thank you
okay,
very much.
let
The
me
stage is yours.
jump to my presentation. So the title of the presentation for today is organizing around multiple dimensions, right? And I will have a short overview of a concrete example, which is basically something that is a dilemma between product and market organization, right? So moving on, let me just see how, okay. So just to remind everybody, organization design is not just about structure, right? It's much more than just structure. And we tend to forget these things sometimes. So when we say organization design, it's about shaping and aligning various elements across the organization to be able to reach the goals that have been predetermined in a specific context. And, when we want to do that, we need to have in mind few organizational design models. The model that is very much in use is obviously Jay Galbraith's STAR model, which consists of several components, starting from the strategy, then moving on to the organization, then processes, then various systems that we have in every company, but also having in mind the people dimension with the SKAs, meaning skills, knowledge, and attitudes, right? So the thing is, whenever you want to do your org design, just as a reminder, you cannot just focus on the structure, right? You need to be aware of all the components. So if you're, for example, changing your strategy, let's say you're a retailer in any industry and you want to jump and become also a wholesaler, first of all, you need to think, what processes do I need to make this happen? Then after that, so what is the organization around these processes, right? How do I organize various teams and people, individuals, to make these processes running as smoothly as possible? Then on top of that, obviously, what systems do I need to have in place? How do I motivate people? How do I, have a specifically designed performance management systems in place? And also, what sort of individuals do I need to have onboarded in terms of skill set, attitudes, and other things? So again, design is not just about structure, it's much more. Basically, we're trying to develop new operating models. So in the current environment, right? In the current environment, what we are trying to do is to respond to all the challenges that we have. So first of all, let me start with changing customer expectation. These days, customers are expecting to get their products ASAP. They want their products to be tailor-made to suit their own needs and wants, right? You can see this in the fashion industry. You can even see this in automobile industry, right? We all want very specific things and we want them for yesterday. So other thing is highly competitive global environment. So you're getting all these competitors from different corners of the world, from other industries as well. Entry barriers have been eroded. So everybody can pretty much compete in almost any market. For example, Google is now in the automobile market. We also have Virgin that is now providing this space travel experiences. So companies are jumping from one industry to another. Obviously, product and service innovation and differentiation with ever shortening time to market cycle is very, very much obvious. Then in various industries, you will find low operational effectiveness and outdated operating models, meaning that in many industries, because of the changes that are happening, specifically in the technology sector, you can easily find a lot of space for improvements, whether that's, process improvements, organizational improvements, systems improvements, but there's so much space to improve how we operate and to improve our profit margins. Obviously, everything that's happening is leading to very specific leadership and culture changes. So how do we change our cultures in our organizations? How do we make them very, very adaptive and flexible? And how do we make things happening with everything that's happening around us? Then, political and regulatory pressures, obviously with the war in Ukraine, logistic challenges across the world, and everything that's happening. This puts a lot of pressures on our leaders. Technology-driven change, more obvious than ever, with computer vision, AI, digital platforms, various types of analytics. We now need to adapt our processes to respond to all the changes that are happening. And last but not the least, business models under attack. Maybe the best example is Amazon. Amazon is now disrupting various industries, starting from warehouse and logistics industry, then moving to the retail industry. Doing a lot of disruptions in pharmaceutical industry. So lots of things are happening. So we need to adapt. So organizations in order to develop and deliver profitable portfolio of products and services to this increasingly demanding customer base. So what can organization do about it? So with that being said, it requires. Give me just a. So yeah, this requires organizations to organize around various dimensions, right? So let me start with the function dimension. Lots of organizations are basically trying to build their own areas of expertise in form of functions, some sort of silos, to get these centers of excellence that will then support operation across the organization. But the challenge with that model is you get your processes that are running through various functions, and now they're being disconnected. When they cross from one function to another, there's something that's called handover. With every handover, there's an opportunity for a white space, meaning I don't know what you're doing and you don't really know how I do things. So things could fall through cracks. On top of that, duplication of efforts, various priorities. So processes are not running smoothly. So we need to understand how to overcome this challenge. In other case, some organizations, they decide, let's do the geography approach. Let's, the primary criteria for building organizational units is around geographies, right? So with that in mind, what happens is every division in organization is focused only on their geography. So the knowledge, the experience, the know-how that is being built in one geography is not necessarily transferred to another geography. So we have siloed structure, but between different geographies. When it comes to the product, right, we can split how we work and we can focus on various product lines. So, in this example, this is an IT company which provides some sort of laptops, accessories, desktop. But what I'm saying is, you do have your functions focused on each individual product, but again, the coordination between different products is not there usually. So how do we make things shape up? How do we make organizations overcome these challenges? Obviously, market dimension is also very, very, very much in use, meaning we are focusing on specific customer segments. And again, we're doing everything that segments as good as we understand ours. So again, some sort of silo effect is a result. So how do we overcome these challenges, right? There's so many ways we can organize our companies. And it seems whatever we choose, we will have some, if we choose market dimension, we have difficulties with connecting the function functions. If we choose, for example, market dimension, then maybe the products will suffer. So how do we overcome these challenges? Obviously, one of the answers that is very much in use and very much in play, let's matrix organization. So we will figure out 3 dimensions. Most important, we will put personnel to work in various dimensions, having different bosses, and we will fix everything, right? It can be some sort of matrix, or we can build some sort of hybrid where we will have one part of the organization will be matrixed, other parts will just, function based on one dimension, whether it's a functional, whether it's a product, geography, whatever. But hey, that's a solution, right? Well, I don't think so, right? It's not always the case. Let me tell you something about matrix organizations, right? So matrix was pioneered back in 60s and 70s of the last centuries, predominantly in aerospace and oil and gas industries, right? Because they figured out how to build organization that is resilient and, able to respond to many challenges they were facing. But again, have in mind, these are very, very complex organizations, and they do have a lot of money and resources to throw at how they're organized. So soon, as in many other aspects of life and work of people, right, this became a trend. Many organizations just started implementing the matrix, like oh, it works in oil and gas, let's do it, right? Let's just let's just implement matrix organization and everything will run smoothly, right? So after doing this experiment, many organizations found out that this is not a way forward. We cannot do things like that because the complexity that ensued was difficult to cope with, right? So they had to dismantle matrix organization and get back to some more simple forms of organizing, right? So what happened then with the ramp up of technology in the mid 90s, and the internet and all the other good stuff that have been happening since then, we saw the, again, re-emergence of matrix organizations. But this time, it was not like I have 2, 3 bosses and that's it. They need to figure out who is in charge for what area. Now we have started seeing various forms of matrix organization, right? Because true matrix is very difficult to manage. And I want to talk about this a little bit more, just to create a bit more awareness. Because, wherever I go, to whoever I speak, everybody's like, hey, let's just form some sort of matrix and things will run smoothly. So if you want to have a proper matrix organization, right, you need to have in mind that there are some prerequisites you need to have in place in order for a matrix to function in a proper manner. So first of all, high level of social capital, right? If you don't have informal social networks in place, if people don't get along with each other, if you have a very toxic organizational culture, forget about matrix. It simply will not work. Cooperation and communication between organizational units is a routine matter. So whenever you have very, very strong siloed effect in organization, right, maybe it's not the best thing to put a matrix structure in place immediately. Also, all employees located in the matrix part of the structure, meaning all employees that have 2 or more bosses, they need to possess a high level of skill set when it comes to, conflicts, when it comes to resolving difficult issues, things like that, and problem-solving skills. Because there's no question about it, matrix organization brings a lot more conflicts because of various dimensions and obviously various KPIs. So, bosses that are running various dimensions, they want to see their priorities being tackled. So, there's usually a conflict between several dimensions in organization. Also, existence of a multidimensional information and accounting system. So you do need your data to be sorted out, because you do need various dimensions to use the same data but in a different format for different reporting purposes. So that needs to be in place as well. Obviously, planning and budgeting processes need to be in place, because various dimensions will have their own plans, will have their own budgets, right? But then when it comes to coordinating among different plans and budget, you need to have some processes in place that will make this happen. And also, very important, positions that are in the matrix part of the organization. So people, in other words, people that do have 2 or more bosses, what needs to happen is, if their bosses do not, cannot make decision on whether we should go left or right, and it's only you, so you need to go either left or right, at a certain point of time. If they cannot agree, then they need to escalate, right? So if imagine them escalating this to, several levels or echelons above their level. So how much time and effort would that consume until things get resolved? So one of the very important one of various conditions, right, but very important condition is don't have many layers above the matrix position. It can be only one, maybe two levels, but after that it needs to be a one person that is controlling both levels if we're talking about two-dimensional matrix, right? So how do we then tackle these things? If matrix is not an answer to everything, right? How do we make sure that we overcome the challenges I discussed when we have one dimension in place, no matter whether that's a functional dimension, product dimension, geography dimension, or even market dimension, right? How do we make sure, if we're not going to put the entire matrix in place, how do we then make sure, right, that we make an organization that is good enough to cope with all the challenges and overcome the obstacles that are imminent to every form of organization? So what we can do is, with one dimension, which is a dominant dimension, being, let's say, a market, right? And then if you need a product dimension to put in place, you don't need to put like a very, line hierarchy product dimension. You can always start with some forms of integration, meaning putting some liaison devices, right, in place, and then see where to get to. So what I'm saying is you have three different liaison devices that you can use before you get to a proper matrix. So you can start, and you can see this diagram where they're shown like in a linear fashion. So you can always start with informal networks, right? So again, if you have a very, for example, product organization, we are split between product teams, and we are, let's say, competing in various markets. So if the dimension of market, right, is a second dimension, then we can make sure that there are informal networks between teams working in the same market that are speaking to each other, right, and then getting this sort of lightweight coordination among themselves. It doesn't necessarily need to be a very formal hierarchy dimension. So you should always start with informal networks, right? Because it's when management takes deliberate action to create communication networks among people who share a common interest, right? And it can be through various team buildings. It can be through for example, collocation. You put your teams to sit together, and informal network naturally evolves. Then the very next thing is you can form various teams, right? It's a second, a bit more complex coordinating mechanism, because with teams you can put either task force, which are basically they're formed to accomplish a particular task, and then they're being dismantled, or you can put some sort of standing committee, right, in place that will oversee a process or part of organization for a longer period of time. Then if that doesn't work, right, you can always get to integrative role. Integrative role is a very formal role with decision authority to make some things happen. Like examples are product manager, project manager, right, process owners. So they don't have strictly formal authority over every individual, but they do have some form of authority, and they can demand few things to happen in their area of jurisdiction, right? And only then, if nothing works, you should be moving to matrix. Again, each one of these liaison devices is more costly, more complex in terms of management time, and more difficult to manage. And to put this in a bit broader perspective, so what's the purpose of these liaison devices? As I said, well, they're helping you to shift the power balance between the predominant dimension and the second less dominant dimension, right? So it's not only about the products. Guys, if you're in a product division, you don't need to worry just about the product. You really need to worry about the market you're in. You really need to worry about some other things as well, right? So how to use them? Again, you always start with more informal, more lightweight devices like informal networks, and then move to more complex ones like team integrative roles, and only then you get to the proper matrix organization. What you also need to keep in mind is that putting this second dimension is a cumulative process. So the use of lateral devices, right, has this cumulative effect, right? So when you get to a more complicated form, the previous one is not disbanded, it's right? So basically, you cannot have your integrative role in place if there are no teams. You cannot have your teams in place if there are no network connection, if there is no network connection around individuals in that team. When to stop? Well, once you get to the level of complexity that is required, you need to not look any further, right? Because the capacity of organization, the capacity of organization to a certain point, and you cannot move after that. So make sure that you align, right, the device you're on with the complexity and with capability of your organization. So how does it looks like on an example of, let's say, product versus market dimension, right? So you can start with the pure product structure, right? And then started moving to the right. First of all, you add network, which is now superimposed on the product structure. So you're trying to get your various teams networking on a market basis in this case. Then if that's not enough, you create, as I said, task forces around it, whether those are, temporary or permanent task forces, but they are there to coordinate the effort more formally. If that's not good enough, then you can put in place some sort of market manager who is now trying to connect people, and you're entering into some sort of lightweight matrix organization. And only then, if that's not working, then you get to a proper matrix organization where both managers, meaning product manager and market manager, have the same authority rights, right? And then moving to the right, you're getting to the pure market structure in the same manner. So just one example before I finish my presentation. A few years ago, I was working in a consulting capacity with one regional organization. Basically, it was a group of companies, and they were involved in many industries, but one of those being IT. So they were involved in automation and smart solutions, customized application, and IT infrastructure. And they stumbled on a challenge. They were expanding in the region, and then, okay, so how do we organize going forward, right? So two dimensions came to mind: product, and they were very product divisionally, focused organization on services, very inclined to stick to products. But again, each market, each country or each geography presented its own challenges, right? So how do we organize? So based on a couple of deep dive sessions and where do they want to be in terms of their strategy, goals, and everything else, we have decided to have a product dimension as a primary one for geography. What means that each subsidiary would be, in each subsidiary you have several product lines, right? So each product line will be predominantly responsible to the division in the headquarters, while the country manager, right, will be directly responsible or subordinated to the group CEO. But again, the primary connection, the primary dimension was in the product area, right? Not in the geography. And then geography was superimposed in terms of this integrator role, right? It was superimposed on the very clear product organization. So it remains to be seen how they're coping with this, but I guess with all the advices we gave them, it's going to be fine. So yeah, this is pretty much it. Thank you for allowing me to present how to organize when we have several challenges in the environment, and it's not good enough to organize according to only one dimension. We need to stick to at least several dimensions. Masha, if you have any if we have any questions from the audience, I'm just trying to.
Hi, I'm here. So I don't see any questions from the audience currently. If there are any, I'm just gonna remind our production team to let us know. In the meantime, I wanna just share the news with our audience about the course that we're making with you called PCDU. And I'm very happy that we can share a bit more info on that. So to anyone listening, if you're interested in more about organizational design and everything that Ivan has mentioned today, I would strongly suggest that you visit the HR World shop and find out more about PCDU and everything that we have prepared for you. So keep an eye on that. Also, even a thank you, huge thanks from the whole HR World team for participating and sharing your extensive knowledge on this topic and being able to actually share everything that you know from experience with our audience. I think that's such an added value, and thank you for agreeing to be with us. Okay, so our production team,
Thank you, Masha. Thank you very much. Always glad to guys.